guys, welcome back to Wind Down with Books with your girl Kay. As you can see by the title, we are reviewing You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. So I rated this book 4 stars, 4.5 in between. I really enjoyed this read. You know, any books that I review that I really enjoy, I don't spoil because I want you guys to read it, and I rather you guys experience what I experienced on your own. But we will be discussing the book, right? I'm not gonna go too much into details. I do have my notes if I need to reference it. But anyways, let's get into it. So the main character, Feyi, if I pronounce her name wrong, it's a Nigerian name. Feel free to correct me in the comments. But the main character, Feyi, she was previously married and she's been dealing with her husband's death for the past 5 years, right? She resides in Brooklyn. She moved from Cambridge to Brooklyn to escape the memories of the accident. It's a traumatic experience that she has been going through, and she just needed to escape. So she moved to Brooklyn. She's currently residing with her best friend, Joy. By the way, Joy was my favorite character out of this whole book. I love Joy. So she moved to Brooklyn. Feyi is a artist, so she paints. And her paintings are very deep, very spiritual. And you feel it. Like if you read the book, or if you can imagine like a heartfelt painting that really touched your soul, that's Feyi's painting. So when they reference her paintings in the book, I really enjoyed that aspect of the book. I really enjoyed the dialogue and the way the book was written. It felt very real. It really felt like two New Yorkers like having a conversation right in front of me. I really loved it. I think that was the best part. And the author is funny. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like she captured the New York accent like that. So it was incredible to read it. So Joy tells Feyi that she needs to, get out there, go ahead and just point blank period, get laid, right? So the book opens up, they're at a party, blah, 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 blah. Feyi sees a dude named Milan. She's just like, yo, I came here to do one thing, and that's to get some, right? So her and Milan ends up having sex in the bathroom. Now, let me tell you, I'm gonna rate it a good 4.8. We're gonna rate that scene a 4.8. All right, maybe 4.8. But anyways, yeah. So long story short, Feyi gets hers off. Her Milan starts seeing one another. It's just sex, and she likes the idea that she can keep what she's feeling inside. She doesn't have to discuss it. Milan is the same way, right? But Feyi is hiding from herself. She wants to get back to who she was before her husband's death, but she doesn't know how. She feels guilty. She feels shame. To me, I feel like she's a little embarrassed. She's redefining who she is, and she's trying to do it in a way where she's just putting herself out there. And honestly, quite frankly, I can't blame her. Like, sometimes you just need to have fun. Like, you just separate stress, just have fun, right? But all in all, her best friend Joy is encouraging it, but she's encouraging for Feyi just to have, safe, unprotected sex. If the thought of Feyi meeting someone and her building a relationship with that person comes across, then Joy is all for it. But Joy wants Feyi to take it slow. Feyi, for the most part, halfway listens to Joy advice. And I see that's where Feyi went astray, right? She should have just listened to Joy. But ultimately, we as individuals, we will make our own decisions, right? I'm gonna pause right there real quick. The reason why I love Joy's character, because Joy was very straightforward in what she meant and what she was trying to say. She was very funny. She is a very relatable character, and she's just very open. But the thing with Joy's character, they didn't touch too much upon her character. The long story short, Joy is a lesbian. Joy seems to attract married women. I don't want to say that's her type, but that's like a type that she attracts. And she continuously gets her heart broken for the simple fact that, these women are not leaving their husband. They're not going to come in. She falls for them, and then, she bottles everything up inside. Joy has a difficult time being vulnerable, especially with Feyi. So it's hard for her. But the reason why I love Joy character, because it was just a relatable character. She was so funny, but she was serious at the same time, and that's kind of like reminded me a little bit of myself in a way. But anyways, moving forward, right? So Feyi now ends up meeting up with Milan at a bar one day, and she meets Nizer, right? So, you know, Feyi has no loyalty to Milan, and Milan has no loyalty to Feyi. So they at the bar, long story short, you know, Nizer and Feyi get to talking. Feyi sees that he's so beautiful, he's so handsome, right? But then she realized like there was a little spark connection, and it terrified her, right? So she ends up low-key cussing him out at the party and dipping off, right? Throughout the time, like 2 weeks after that, you know, she's having a discussion with Joy about, you know, thinking about Nizer and low-key in a way, and, you know, she's afraid, she wants to get out there. You know, they discuss her feelings, whatever. Joy ends up giving Nizer Feyi's number, right? And he calls Feyi. They start talking, and they agreed to meet up, go on a little date. They hit it off, right? But one thing I will say, and I am gonna stress it because I read the reviews about this book because it's so popular right now in the comments, and everybody paints Feyi as the bad person. Let me before I say this, Feyi did some messed up stuff. She definitely did messed up stuff. But one thing I can definitely say, and you can't argue with me, and if you do disagree with me, drop it in the comments, hit me up on Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, is that Feyi was always straightforward with her intentions. She never misled anyone on. Like, she was always straightforward. And I feel like when someone is straightforward with you and they tell you what they want or what they need at the time, and you think that you can change them by doing certain things and saying certain things, you have set your own self up for failure. That's it. You gotta take what people say at first glance. You cannot change anyone. You like, it's just gonna happen. If the person wants you, they're gonna show you that they want you. Anyways, so Nizer and Feyi hit it off or whatever. You know, when they first met, Feyi had mentioned that she's a painter. Nizer always wanted to see her paintings, right? So they're getting close. You know, she's feeling the vibe, but Feyi hasn't really felt that she really likes Nizer. So she tells Nizer, like, you know, hey, I just want to be friends. Let's move slow, right? Nizer said he's okay with that. So my impression of Nizer, at first I thought Nizer was too good to be true. Like, he's handsome, he's a gentleman, he's a good communicator, he's listening to her needs, he's listening to her wants, he's willing to wait, he's willing to work with her, he understands that she has some trauma, he's everything that someone would want at first glance, right? And at first I was a little skeptical reading the book. I'm like, Nizer, you're too good to be true, but he was good. Nizer was a man of his word. Nizer, I am definitely team Nizer, I will say that, but I understood Feyi's character. Anyways, long story short, Nizer had told Feyi that, you know, my dad is friends with a curator, which is I guess the person who like sells painted or does shows. I have to look up the definition, right? And he was able to get her painting into a art show back in Nizer's country. Now, this is the part that I couldn't figure out, right? Because I'm Trinidadian. My family's Trinidadian, right? I know the Trinidadian dialogue. So I'm like, the dialogue in the book, this is what it was a little confusing. It was giving Jamaica vibes. The food that they was describing was giving Jamaica vibes. But then they mentioned brief like TNT Islands, they mentioned Tobago and stuff like that. So that's the only thing I could say that was confusing. I could not figure out where Nizer was from. I just chalked it up to Nizer being Jamaican at this point, because I was just like it's a little confusing. 1 minute the dialect, when they talk about the dialect, is you giving Jamaican patois. Then on the next hand, one character is given Trinidadian Creole. So I'm like, what? It was a little confusing. That's the only thing I can say. I did not like it. For me, if you're gonna do a Caribbean dialect, please do it and make it clear, right? Anyways, So long story short, she's skeptical about accepting it. She was like, why would you do this for me, right? And she made it clear, like, I don't. She would accept it, but he was like, there's no intentions. She didn't want no intentions to be attached with this gesture because she was very skeptical about it. And Nazir was like, nah, your work speaks for yourself. So I'm like, okay, he's doing a good gesture. So I see, like, in the reviews, people like, oh, he helped to get her work out there, stuff like that. I'm gonna stop right there with that, right? She never asked him to do it. He did it. Now, I will say this: when a man takes initiative, when a man or woman takes initiative and do something nice for you, like it's a very appreciative. And she was appreciative, and she was shocked, she was happy, whatever. But she made it known, like, she's skeptical about accepting it because she didn't want no strings attached. And he made it clear that there was no strings attached. Her work spoke for itself. So, although he took it upon himself to help her with her work, and she was completely grateful, she still owed him no loyalty in that instance, right? And that's just how I feel. But being me, like, somebody do something nice, like, I will have some loyalty off the strength of that, but I'm not gonna, just automatically jump down your pants because you did that. Like, we're not doing that. And that's what Feyi didn't want to do, right? Because she's still trying to figure out how she feels about Naya. She feel like they have a connection, but at the same time, Feyi needed more. Like, she needed someone that was gonna touch her soul and touch what she was feeling. I mean, connect and feel what she was feeling. And ultimately, Nazir wasn't able to do that because Nazir wasn't too attached with his emotions. That's just my opinion. Anyway, while they're on the plane going back to his country, he tells her that, hey, my dad is Akeem Blake, right? So his dad is a famous celebrity chef. He got 2 Michelin stars. Like, Joy was like, in the book, if you read the book, you go to read the book, you will see, like, how funny it was when Joe was like, you about to F a daddy with 2 Michelin stars. Like, that Joe is too funny. Anyway, so she's freaking out, like, oh my god, like, we watched the show that he's on, your father's Akeem Blake. So, she's just shocked, right? But she's not fangirling over. She's just like, wow, like, this is your dad, right? So when they touch down, this is where I can say I knew shit hit the fan and shit was gonna go left. As soon as she seen the daddy, and don't get me wrong, the way that the dad was describing, his skin glistening and he's tall and all that, I could understand why Feyi was looking at the daddy. Because I would have looked at the daddy. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't have done what Feyi did, but I would have looked at the daddy, right? So as soon as she sees his dad, she's like, in awe. Like, she instantly felt something, right? The way he stood there and the way people commanded his attention and all that. Like, when he walks into her room, it speaks loudly because he had picked them up from the airport or whatever. And that's where it went left, because she started feeling something in her stomach. Like, it bubbled. Like, she hadn't felt that in a long time with her ex-husband Jonah, because Jonah was her real first love. Like, she really connected. She loved Jonah, right? I'm not gonna tell the whole story, I promise, right? So I'm gonna fast forward. Long story short, she can't keep her eyes off of the father. Like, she's feeling something, right? So the way the father look at her is like he's looking into her soul and he really sees her, right? This is where stuff starts spiraling. But before I get into that, she has called Joy on the phone while she was there and told Joy, like, hey, like, the father looked mad good. I'm feeling this way. Joy's like, you wildin'. Like, Nazir brought you there. Like, you crazy. Like, you can't do that. Don't do that. Like, you F Nazir, and that's that. And I should mention, at this time, Nazir and Feyi never had any sex. The most that they did was kiss, right? And it was a good kiss. But that's all they've done. So anyways, so stuff really hit the fan is when Feyi, Akeem, Akeem's daughter Lauren, and Nazir was having breakfast, and then Akeem mentioned going to see the sunrise. So Feyi was like, I want to see the sunrise. So Lauren and Nazir was like, nah, I don't want to hike up there. The mountain is too much. So the next day, Akeem and Feyi end up going to the sunrise, right? Pause. I'm lying, guys. That's not where things went astray. Wait a minute. sorry guys, I gotta catch my bearings. So there was a sunrise part and there was a garden part, right? I just don't want to get it wrong, so bear with me. Bear with your girl. Hold on. Boom, boom, boom. All right, this is the part first, okay? So before the sunrise, I gotta get the timeline right. Feyi was having nightmares about Jonah. So she couldn't sleep in the house. Mind you, Akeem's house is so beautiful. Like, it's so beautiful. So he has a garden. So she was walking around the house, going to the garden that Nazir had showed her, right? When she got to the garden, the dad was out there sitting. Long story short, he saw that, you know, she was going through something. She was feeling something. So they start talking about the nightmare, and she mentions her her late husband Jonah, the accident, and how she's feeling. He mentions Marisol, his late wife, which is Lauren and Nazir's mom, and you know, they really connected because they both experienced the death of someone that they really love, right? And you know, she really felt something. That connection was real. Like, if you read that garden scene, you know what I'm talking about. So it kind of freaked her out, and she knew what she, like, the feeling. She continued to pursue it. Shit would hit the fan. So she left, right? Then here comes the mountain scene. So they go to the mountain, whatever, and they sit on the mountain. And, you know, they talking about life. They talking about everything. Again, the love and all that. And they sitting side to side or whatever. And it's just a beautiful connection, right? At the same time, you know, Akeem is able to open up to Feyi in a way that he hasn't been able to do that in so long. And you know, they had to pull back. They had a moment where, like, Feyi wanted to kiss him right then and there. And I'm pretty sure he wanted to kiss her too. Like, right? The way they describe Feyi, she's a beautiful queen. Right? And he also mentions on that mountain walk, hike, or whatever you call it, that he experienced love once before, and it was with a man named Devon. So I was like, I didn't see that coming. I'm like, okay. And that's when Feyi mentioned, like, you know, I had something with Joy, too. So, you know, she understood. So at first I thought, like, when he mentioned that, she was going to be turned off, but it just morally connected because they both had a bisexual experience, right? So from that mountain talk and all that vibing, like, Feyi is really in it, right? So Feyi, I'm fast forward a little bit. Feyi tells Nazir, like, they gotta stop kissing. She wanna take it slow. Like, she's not really feeling it. She's barely talking to him, and he's still doing nice gestures. At the same time, she's preparing for her art exhibit, right? So I'm going fast forward a little bit, right? So we at the art exhibit. The art exhibit is a Stella. She does so well. Nazir plans a party for her after the art exhibit. She's like, what's going on? The father cooks a 5-star meal. And the whole time, she's not thinking that Nazir planned the party for her, right? The dinner party. All she's thinking about, like, oh my God, like, Akeem set me up with the 5-star. He's cooking for me. A man that got 2 Michelin stars. Like, oh my God, like, she's fangirl. And then she at one point she had got jealous at the dinner because he was dancing with another girl. And I'm just like, Feyi, like, I was screaming at her, like, Feyi, like, Nazir's doing all this for you, and you doing that for him. But again, Feyi owed Nazir no loyalty. But at the same time, Nazir in his head, he's like, he thinks he has a shot with Feyi because of the vibe that they had shared prior to coming to his island. And I was just like, I was torn in between the two. I'm yelling at Feyi because she's doing Nazir wrong, not because she's low-key fanning and over another man, but it's his dad. That's what made it so worse, because it's his dad, right? If it was somebody else, like even with the friend, like Milan didn't care that she was messing with Nizer, and Nizer didn't care that she had messed with Milan. But it's the principle, like that's the man's dad. But at the same time, you cannot help who you have a connection with, right? Fast forward, right? So now Feyi, we at the dinner, whatever. Feyi gets mad and goes upstairs because she's upset that Akeem was dancing with another lady, right? There was another point in the book where she was walking through the house again. Feyi always find her ass walking through somebody's house, and she ends up in the kitchen with Akeem, right? So he's cooking because, you know, one point they had a conversation where she wanted to learn how to cook. They cooking, they vibe, whatever. She ends up licking freaking, I don't know what she licked, the mango sauce or something off his hands. I'm like, first of all, that's sexy. Second of all, the fuck. So when she licked it off his hands, he didn't say nothing. He straight faced her, and she ends up leaving like, damn, did I just do that? And I'm just like, Feyi, you doing too much, right? You doing too much. But at the same time, it's not like she was a messed up person in the sense where she knew what she was doing, but she didn't give a F about Nizer's feelings. The whole time she's thinking about Nizer's feelings. And in her mind, Feyi was like, you know, I'm gonna go back to Brooklyn. When we get back to Brooklyn, I'm gonna break it up with Nizer, right? That was her main thing. She was straightforward within herself, right? And she was the whole time she's denying her feelings for her Akeem, his dad. They really did have a vibe. You got to read the book to really feel the vibe that was going on. Like, me talking about it doesn't give it any justice, right? Long story short, after the dinner party, Nizer tells Feyi that, yo, I gotta go fly out for business, right? So I'm leaving you here on the island. You know, at the same time, she also was given an offer to remain on the island for an extra week to do a painting for another person, right? So she's like, damn, like, should I stay in the hotel? Should I stay at the house? Because she knows if she stays, there's going to be trouble, right? Let me pause. So my man Nizer give her a little kiss on the cheek, right? And this is the day he leaves. So he leaves. Feyi and Akeem is in the house. You know, she comes for breakfast or whatever. And the same day he leaves, they start in the kitchen kissing. Okay, so this is what happened. I'm playing around. So, you know, she cutting up carrots or whatever. You know, he about to show her how to cook or whatever, about to cook for her, whichever one. And, you know, she's like, oh, can you show me how to cut these carrots out? I'm like, Feyi, girl, you know what you're doing, because I would have did it. You know what you're doing, right? So Akeem comes behind her trying to show her how to cook. He pressed up all against her, right? So this is him behind, right? Next thing you know the electricity, the spark that's going through them. He start kissing on her neck. You know, ladies. Ladies. So anyways, so long story, they start kissing, grabbing at each other. I'm like, damn, like Nizer just left. So the whole time I'm thinking like, Feyi, this is his dad. But at the same time, I understand like the connection was to so much that was irresistible. And the father, for the most part, people don't, in the reviews that I read, people don't mention the father aspect. They mention like, yo, that's wrong, your son, whatever. But at the same time, Feyi had good impulse control for the most part, right? The father made the first move. So I'm saying, you know, he didn't want to hurt his son. He definitely didn't want to hurt his son. But at the same time, it's just like, you know, your son is feeling this, so you supposed to be more in control, right? You older, like you should already know. But again, devil's advocate, you cannot control the spark where you feel with someone when you know you guys are destined, like low-key soulmates, right? So they don't have sex that day. Instead, you know, they recognize things and they decide like, yo, we need to talk about this. So Feyi's like, yo, he's your son. Like, this is your son. What are we gonna do? He's like, I know this is my son. I love my son. I'm not set up to hurt him, but we have a connection. I want this to work, this, that, and third. So Feyi's going back and forth with it. She was like, listen, I want to move slow. I know I like you, but we need to speak to Nizer first. That was Feyi's main thing, and I'm gonna say that. That's why I respect her character. Although I understand for the most part that it's messed up that she went with the father, his father. I respect her in the way she was very open. She, before anything happened between her and the father, Akeem, she wanted to make sure she had a conversation with Nizer, right? I'm not gonna spoil how Nizer found out, but long story short, he found out, he was upset. Her and Akeem end up, together, whatever, and it was a beautiful connection, and they did end up eventually having sex, and that scene was like, all I can say is, fuck you about it. My take is this, like, I still feel like Nizer had every right to get mad. I don't want to spoil that part of the book. I thought it was interesting, and if you read the reviews, then you can see, like, there's some people discuss Nizer's scene and how he had every right to do what he did. But at the same time, Feyi was just rediscovering herself, and she didn't want to put herself out there just to anyone, right? Anyone, anybody. And although Nizer did what he was supposed to do, and Nizer, for the most part, he was perfect. It's just that he wasn't the perfect one for Feyi, and Feyi realized that time, because you know when someone is made for you, right? Or you really feeling somebody, because the connection is real, and it's not just physical attraction. It's mental stimulation. It's emotional stimulation. It's the spiritual connection you guys share. And Akeem, unfortunately, was the one to touch Feyi's heart, and what she needed was a different feeling that she didn't, even for her husband, like, for her to relive that. And Akeem felt the same way, and it was like for him like 15 years, and Feyi made Akeem feel alive, and for someone to have that effect on another person's life, that is an undeniable feeling. And one day I really hope to experience that, right? Or something like that. And although it did hurt Nizer that was the father, I was rooting for Feyi. Like, I wanted Feyi to have her happiness, because she went through that traumatic experience. She was overcoming it. She was talking to her therapist, but it was so hard to lose someone that you thought that you was gonna spend your life with. I don't know that feeling, but for that person like to be taken away, and for you to just move on the next day, how do you do that? Right? It's hard losing a loved one, but losing someone that you're in love with, I can't even fathom how that would feel. So I was rooting for her to find love, for her to feel alive again, to feel like herself, to be who she is, and not just a shell of herself, and just going every day, just living every day. That's no way to live. She didn't feel like herself. She didn't feel alive. She was just going, and I was so happy that she was able to find love. Unfortunately, it had to be with the dad, but their connection, like, you cannot deny somebody that. And like I said, I'm Team Nizer. He had every right to feel the same way, because that was his dad. But at the same time, he did have to understand, like, well, he don't have to understand nothing. Like, I can understand why he feel betrayed, but she also didn't ask him to do those things, right? But at the same time, Nizer, I feel like he will be able to understand the character that he was. It's not just him. You have to find somebody that's gonna match you. But ultimately, him doing what he did for her, he was just like, he believed that Feyi owed him loyalty, and she did not. At the end of the day, her body is her body. She can do what she wants. I just wish that it wasn't his dad. I just really wish that it wasn't dad. I'd rather it be another friend. That's bad as well, but it's just like, damn, like, I'd rather be the friend, because to lose someone, well, now he didn't lose her, just to know that you had an interest in this person, and your dad is able to fulfill what you wanted to fulfill with this person, that's hurt, right? I could understand that he should feel more betrayed with the father than Feyi. Because the father owed him the most loyalty there is. Regardless of your feelings, as a parent, you gotta suck that up and push that aside, because that's your child. But again, I was playing devil advocate. Sometimes you can't deny a feeling that you feel, right? And the father then set out to hurt his son. He really, really loved his son. And he was and I like Akeem's character for the most part, like how his communication and how he was able to master comfortability, master calmness. Like, that's something I hope to achieve one day. Feyi was definitely wrong for being with the father, but for the most part, it's just that you can't deny who you fall in love with, and they both have fell in love with each other within a short amount of time. Love waits on no one. What I wish I would have found out more is about Joy's character. Like, I was really invested in Joy. I wanted to hear. I know the book is not about Joy, but I really wish that we could have hear so much more about Joy's situation at the end, because Joy was messing with a woman. You could tell Joy was in love with the lady, and in the end, Feyi had decided to fly back to Brooklyn, and Joy's like, yeah, I'm gonna tell you what happened when we get back to Brooklyn. We never found out. And I wanted to find out, like, did sis leave her husband? Because the author wrote that, the woman came out to her husband, but we don't know what happened after. And then, but the way it made it seem like Joy, Joy ended up with the lady. But I'm like, damn, like, I really was invested, like, Joy was going on, because Joy deserved happiness too. And I just wish that, Joy was going to therapy. She could be vulnerable too. And the one thing I can say though, Joy supported the hell out of Feyi. But Feyi and Joy pushed Feyi to really open up. But I can't say that Feyi did the same for Joy in return. And I wish that Feyi's character was able to be play a more supportive role in Joy's life, because Joy needed that push to get and to articulate everything that she was feeling, to express emotions. Because Joy would say something, Feyi would read her expression like, I know she's not want to talk about it, or I know she's going to put a mask on, push it to the side, and bottle it up. So that's the only thing I wish that Feyi character would have been more supportive to Joy. But ultimately, I really love the book. I didn't spoil too much. I really left a lot of the good parts out, because I want you guys to read it, or if you read it, drop it in the comments. Again, it's Read Caribbean Month. I don't know what the next book is I'm going to read. I'm kind of in a reading slump right now, honestly. But let me know what you guys are reading for Read Caribbean Month. I appreciate the support. Keep watching my videos, guys. I love it. Drop in the comments. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Wind Down with Books. And until next time, your girl is out.